All right, so BP just dropped their latest quarterly results, and frankly, they tell the story of a company that seems to be firing on all cylinders. But what's really going on behind those big numbers? That's what we're going to dive into. We'll break down their performance, from the deep sea oil rigs all the way to the gas pumps, and figure out what it all means. So right off the bat, you've got the CEO, Murray Auchincloss, basically saying, hey, the plan is working. He's really setting a confident tone here. This whole message of performance and this promise to do better is the frame through which BP wants us to see everything else. So the big question is, do the numbers actually back that up? Let's find out. Okay, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll hit you with the big, splashy headline numbers. Then we're going to peek behind the curtain at their actual day-to-day operations. From there, we'll connect the dots to what this all means for investors, the money part. And finally, we'll take a look at what BP is forecasting for the future. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the Q3 snapshot. These are the big numbers, the ones that grab all the attention. Okay, so if you only take away two things from this quarter, let it be these: solid earnings and a ton of cash. Seriously, these were the two engines just powering BP's performance. So with that, let's get into the actual figures. First up, and this is the big one, $2.2 billion. Now that's what they call underlying replacement cost profit. I know it's a mouthful, right? But here's what it really means. It's basically their profit, but with all the crazy up and down swings of oil prices stripped out. So what you're left with is a really clean, pure look at how the actual business is performing. And then there's the cash. A whopping $7.8 billion in raw cash coming in from their day-to-day business. Look, this isn't just some number on a spreadsheet. This is the absolute lifeblood of the company. It's the money that pays for everything: new projects, paying down debt, and, maybe most importantly for investors, it's where shareholder rewards come from. And speaking of rewards, check this out: $750 million. That's how much BP is spending this quarter alone just to buy back its own stock. So why do that? Well, it's pretty simple. When they buy back their own stock, there are fewer shares out in the world, which means your shares, if you own them, become just a little bit more valuable. It's a straight-up injection of value right back to the shareholders. Okay, so we've seen these huge numbers. But the big question is, where did all that profit and cash actually come from? To get that answer, we've got to pop the hood and look inside BP's engine room, its upstream and downstream operations. And what's really striking here is that it wasn't just one part of the business doing all the heavy lifting. Both sides of the house were absolutely crushing it. You've got upstream, that's the whole finding and pumping oil part, running at almost perfect reliability and bumping up production. Then you flip over to downstream, refining it and selling it to us, and that side was a total rock star too, even setting a record for earnings. And this right here, this is what that upstream business looks like in the real world. This is the very start of the whole process. And trust me, BP has been incredibly busy this year, finding new spots to drill. Every time they have a successful find like this, it's a huge deal. Why? Because it locks in their ability to produce oil and, well, make profits for years and years down the road. I mean, just look at the pace they're moving at. It's kind of wild. We're talking 6 major projects firing up just this year, a dozen discoveries so far, and a brand new hub sanctioned in the Gulf of America. The real story here isn't any single one of these things. It's the big picture. It shows you BP is all in on aggressively building out its production for the future. But it's not just about pulling crude out of the earth. The other side of the coin, the downstream business, is also firing on all cylinders. They're running their refineries super efficiently, squeezing better profit margins out of every single barrel, and that's how they're turning that raw crude into record-breaking profits. Okay, so the business is humming along, things are looking good. But let's get down to brass tacks. If you're an investor, you're asking one simple question. So what? What does this actually mean for my wallet? Well, BP's got a pretty straightforward and powerful answer. It's a classic 1-2 punch. First, the jab, a solid, reliable dividend. That's cash in your pocket every quarter, and they're aiming to grow it. Then the right hook, those share buybacks we talked about, using extra cash to make the shares you already own worth more. It's a really clear, disciplined strategy for investor returns. And this isn't some flash-in-the-pan promise either. This is literally baked into their financial strategy for the long haul. They've put a stake in the ground, saying they plan to give back a huge slice of the pie. We're talking 30 to 40% of all the cash they generate directly to shareholders. That kind of commitment creates a really predictable and powerful engine for returns. All right, so that's the rearview mirror. A great quarter.
But what's on the road ahead? Let's switch gears and see what BP itself is expecting for the rest of the year.
For the final quarter, the message is pretty much steady as she goes. They're expecting production to hold firm, with some of the usual seasonal dips in customer demand, but nothing out of the ordinary. The big takeaway here is stability. They're not flagging any major surprises. It's all about just continuing to execute the plan. And if we zoom out and look at the whole year, the theme is really discipline. Production's going to be flat compared to last year, which is what they planned. They're sticking to their spending budget, and they're actually doing better than expected selling off some assets. When you put it all together, you get a picture of a company that has a plan and is methodically executing it.
So let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line? Well, it's clear that BP's core oil and gas business is an incredibly powerful, well-oiled machine that is just churning out cash. I mean, these numbers prove it, no question. But this all leads to the one massive billion-dollar question that hangs over everything. Can they keep this momentum going while the world itself pivots to new forms of energy? And really, that's not just their biggest challenge, it's also their greatest opportunity.